Well, it seems to me there was a group called Minnesota Majority who, after the 2008 election, discovered that felons had voted in the election, and that's illegal right there. But yet
Felons
that
are
was
people. They're a victimized group again.
and that's
Add
funny
them to-
that
add
they
them to
should
that
be
list.
exactly they should be on that roster. But anyway, the mainstream media didn't carry that information.
They have
either.
trouble getting
Nobody-
to the polling place.
Well, that reminds me. Speaking of having trouble getting to the. Oh, okay. We still have one more clip on that.
yeah. Got a doozy coming up
yeah,
here.
Yeah. Let's show.
I'm not sure voter fraud and photo ID should be used together in the same sentence. I think they're used together a lot. But I'm not convinced that there is a good reason to do so. Why is that?
Go ahead and show the rest of that.
There's no evidence of problem with voter fraud. Moreover, as a solution to voter fraud, you need to look at a few things. What is voter fraud? Is voter fraud a problem? What is the nature of that fraud, and what is the solution? Photo ID as a solution, what it does for us is when you go to the polls, it's a way for someone to look at a picture and look at the name in the poll book and see if, in fact, you are the same person that is presenting themselves to vote as it was written in the poll book. Which means the only kind of fraud that protects against is if someone's presenting themselves as somebody else, and that's called voter impersonation. There is no evidence that voter impersonation is a problem anywhere in this country. Photo ID isn't the fix.
Okay, verbal gymnastics, anyone? I don't care what you call it. I care that you have to have an ID to vote.
Well, and I would add that they talk about what's voter impersonation. If you go in and impersonate somebody and cast a vote, that is voter fraud.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, basically, it's one aspect of voter fraud. There's voting illegally by yourself, and there's impersonating somebody to vote. But if you cast a vote impersonating to be somebody else, that is voter fraud.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I think they're trying to play mind games, trying to confuse people.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's just another tactic of the.
I want to
this
get to
movement.
this really lame clip too, because we are running out of time, and we have more clips
That's
than we
right.
have time probably. But
roll the lame
this
stuff.
one's really lame.
That voting gives each of us a voice, that we can express ourselves through voting.
The reason it would be harder for a person with a disability to vote is, one, they have to have their PCA have time to get them ready to go vote. The second thing is transportation. They have to schedule transportation to get to the office to go and vote. The third thing is financial, finding the money and the resources to go and vote.
So any barrier that we put up that might cost someone money is going to be a problem for many people with disabilities, most of whom are low income, and many of us are not employed at all.
Okay, if you're a PCA and you have a person that has trouble taking care of themselves, it's your job to get them where they're supposed to go. Get them dressed, get them in the vehicle, and get going.
And I might add, this will not cost any money for the person to get an ID. That is another piece of propaganda. It is written in the legislation, in the amendment, that if you cannot afford it, and they have standards to that, that one can be provided to you at no cost. And I'd like to explain something. I once was poor in my first apartment. I lived on beer and cereal. I was able to buy an ID. So how can one reach the conclusion that giving me one for free then violates my rights? Makes zero sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Speaking of making no sense, let's check out the college student demographic.
Roll it.
Since I turned 18, I moved 12 times. I went to school on the East Coast and did a couple internships around the country, and have just lived basically every 6 months prepared to pack my bags and move someplace else. The last time I moved was right around the election season. I was living in one neighborhood during the primary and moved on September 1st to a different neighborhood, so I voted in a different precinct for the general election. So it was a very quick turnover, but I was fortunate that the mechanisms in place gave me no hassle, that I could vote without having a photo ID that had those temporary addresses businesses, and I could very easily register myself and my new roommates.
Hi, excuse me, sir.
Hello.
Hello. Do you plan on voting in the elections this November?
Very much so, yes. In my country, it is very custom to vote early and often, very often.
Oh, but sir, in this country you only get one vote.
No. My neighbor here will vote for me, my neighbor here will vote for me, and my neighbor here.
Oh.
I vote as many times as I want.
No, sir, you can't do that.
Oh, yes, I can. Yeah, you don't know. I can vote as many times as I want.
Excuse me, sir, is that a purple finger?
I'm very proud of my finger.
That tells me that you just voted in another country. Are you even a U.S. citizen?
Are you racist? I am, you. It does not matter. I can vote as many times as I want. Are you racist?
Oh,
Are you racist?
sir, you're being ridiculous.
You're racist.
One person, one vote. You vote. Oh my goodness.
I can vote as many times as I want, very often, as much as I want. My neighbor there and here will vouch for me.
Excuse me.
What?
Hey, give me a bottle.
Why don't you get your own bottle?
I don't have an ID.
Why don't you have an ID?
I don't got time.
What?
I got school.
That doesn't make sense. How do I know you're old enough?
I am.
Well, you don't
I
have
got
an
a
ID,
beard.
so I don't know. You got a beard.
Yeah,
You need to get an ID and go buy your own beer.
You can keep the change.
I don't need the change.
That's $25. Keep the rest.
I don't need $5. What I need is for you to be an adult and go get yourself an ID.
If I'm an adult though, I just don't have
You
time.
can't prove it, so that's your bad. You know, you need to man up and go get yourself an ID.
It's not like you buy me cigarettes. You should be fine.
You're, what, in college now, you
Yeah,
say?
yeah.
You know, so that's, you're old enough to get an ID. Don't you have to have an ID to get into your classes?
Yeah.
Well,
Not
that
really.
doesn't make
It's just an
sense.
ID. It's school ID. Then accept school ID.
They don't accept your school ID?
No, they don't.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Have a nice day.
Okay.
All right, well, we kind of ran out of time here a little bit, so I wasn't able to explain that clip where the girl had moved 10 times since she was 18. And I just want to say, yeah, so.
Well, and I would add, I mean, isn't there absentee voting? Isn't there when you move? Don't you go get your mail? I mean, where do you go do all that
you have
stuff?
you have to when you move, get your identification, your address changed.
You buy, how many times do you switch schools? I mean, do you buy that?
No, I buy here's what I buy. Go get yourself an ID and go vote.
But that's an extraordinary case, even if it's true.
Yeah.
And how many people are moving 12 times?
Exactly. They just trotted her out because they keep saying that college students are one of the demographics, and so they probably thought they were providing an example. But
Well, they found somebody to fit their script.
what I found is, you know, just what I suspected all along. If you can't get an ID, if you don't go get an ID, if you don't do what it takes to do the job, then don't do it. I don't care.
Yeah, and I'd add, again, we're in the minority of states. Most states have voter ID, part of the Help America Vote Act in 2002, which changed the rules for federal elections. And most states have it, and they have not seen a drop in voter participation. And so I don't know where the case is built, and I don't know that I buy their statistics about how many people don't have an ID. I just can't. I just don't believe it.
Right, and that's really the point of this whole program is I'm just so fed up with the propaganda and the constant drub from these people that are trying to push this agenda. And I think that kind of dovetails with Obama's allowing 20 million illegal aliens to stay. And what would be the purpose of that? And who is going to be
Grow his
encouraging them
party.
to vote? Exactly. And so that's what they're talking about when they accuse the opposition of calling it, and they call it democratic voter opposition, as I mentioned before.
Well, and I should say we don't have time.
Say it, 10 seconds.
You know, there are Democrats who support this. In fact, Rhode Island legislature, which is controlled by Democrats, passed a voter ID law last year.
Nice.